The PlayStation 3 has one of the best libraries of exclusives ever, and in this video we will be taking a look at the top 10 PS3 exclusives of all time. A few things to note is that only one game in a series will be present on the list. Also, if a game was remastered years after its initial release, it will still be present on the list despite not being an exclusive anymore. With that being said, let's get right into this. Number 10, Resistance 2. The sequel to the most notable PlayStation 3 launch title in Resistance Fall of Man, in Resistance 2 the gameplay was superb, the campaign scale at time was jaw-dropping, the big bosses, visuals, it was all there in the single player. But the highlight of Resistance 2 was the multiplayer. 64-player multiplayer matches, the games were chaotic, fast-paced, and most importantly, a blast to play. Unfortunately, the online service to all of the Resistance titles were closed in April of 2014, but man, it was fun while it lasted. Number 9, Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. Level 5 created the best JRPG on the PlayStation 3 with Ni no Kuni. A collaboration with Studio Ghibli led to one of the most artistic video games we will ever see, with a gorgeous cel-shaded art style. The story and character development is engaging and will leave an emotional impact. The gameplay, the music, everything that makes a great JRPG is here in Ni no Kuni, and it's all done with such a high level of quality and care. Ni no Kuni is one of those PlayStation 3 exclusives that not everyone may have played, especially a Western audience. Regardless, it's an absolutely fantastic game that you should play. Number 8, Demon's Souls. From Software began the Souls game phenomenon on the PlayStation 3 with their release of the 2009 PS3 exclusive Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls gained fame for being a brutally difficult game, but also being one of the most rewarding games that we've ever played. With the grim art style, the high-octane boss fight, the music, it all blends to create a very atmospheric world, and that's one of Demon's Souls' strengths, is the ability to create such a great atmosphere. Years later, Dark Souls was released as a spiritual successor and eventually Bloodborne as a PS4 exclusive, but we won't forget that Souls began on the PlayStation 3. Number 7, Ratchet & Clank, A Crack in Time. Ratchet & Clank was one of the most popular game series on the PlayStation 2, and that was successfully continued onto the PlayStation 3 with Ratchet & Clank Tools of Destruction and then eventually Ratchet & Clank, A Crack in Time. A Crack in Time brought better gameplay, more unique weapons, and the gorgeous visuals. The game also had a very good story as well. A Crack in Time is the definitive Ratchet & Clank game, and while it is more of the same compared to previous Ratchet games, it just did everything but better. Number 6, Killzone 2. Killzone 2 was the most anticipated PlayStation 3 game quite possibly ever. The initial sort of misleading trailer had the jaw of gamers absolutely dropped, and while it may have not completely matched expectations, considering expectations were so high, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Killzone 2 is still one of the best looking console games ever, and there's no doubt that it was a game built on its visuals, but the tight gameplay, terrific soundtrack, and deep multiplayer definitely didn't hurt either. While the campaign left a lot to be desired, the star of Killzone 2 was the multiplayer. It was addictive, fun, and was filled with content. Killzone 2 is a game that hasn't aged the best, but for its time, it was a very, very good shooter. Number 5, Journey. That game company created 3 stellar PlayStation 3 titles, Flow, Flower, and the best of them all, 2012's Journey. Journey is not a big budget, high production value with an epic adventure. It is an adventure game, but of a different sort. In Journey, you play as a robed figure through his journey in a desert. The game's story is told without words through gameplay and cutscenes. It's a game everyone should at least play once. It's so unique and vibrant. Nowadays, you can also find the game on the PlayStation 4, so you can play the game on there as well if you don't have a PS3. Regardless, Journey is a game that everybody definitely should check out. Number 4, Little Big Planet. No one really knew what to expect from Little Big Planet. The play, create, share tagline, while sounded great, also seemed kind of a difficult goal. Well, the guys over at Media Molecule created one of the best and most innovative platformers of all time with Little Big Planet. While the gameplay and controls weren't completely perfect, it was still very enjoyable. And while the levels Media Molecule themselves created were crafted with a lot of care, the real joy of Little Big Planet is to either create your own levels or play all of the other levels that so many people have created. There are so many levels to pick from with a ridiculous amount of detail, it's really amazing. Little Big Planet also spawned a few sequels. Little Big Planet 2 was very good, but Little Big Planet 3 left a lot to be desired. Regardless, the first game will leave you with hundreds upon hundreds of hours of joy. Number 3, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. Uncharted was arguably the marquee series of the PlayStation 3. The first Uncharted game had quite a bit of issues with its pacing, and while the third Uncharted game was great, nothing really matches the quality of Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. People liked the first Uncharted game, but the leaps forward the second game made were staggering to say the least. The visuals were amazing, the gameplay was some of the best in the genre ever, the pacing was so much better, the story flew so much better, even the addition of multiplayer added in another level of quality. Uncharted 2 was a near-perfect game, and if you don't have a PlayStation 3, you can check out Uncharted the Nathan Drake collection on the PlayStation 4, which includes all 3 Uncharted titles in 1080p and 60 FPS, which is a well worth buy. Number 2, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. In 2008, the PlayStation 3 was really struggling, and there was hope that Metal Gear Solid 4 could be the top-tier quality exclusive the console needed. And oh man, did the game deliver. Metal Gear Solid 4 is one of the best games ever. Obviously, playing the game, you'll want to have played the previous Metal Gear games, as you'll be so much more invested to the story. And considering there are cutscenes in Metal Gear Solid 4 that run north of an hour long, the story is one of the biggest focuses of the game. And that story is absolutely excellent. It will keep you on the edge of your seat, it might make you cry, it will keep you hooked, and don't get me wrong, the gameplay is great too. It's the stealth gameplay of Metal Gear nearly perfected. Even the online mode was enjoyable, but the real high point of Metal Gear Solid 4 was the story, and seeing the conclusion to Snake's story was a very emotional ride. Number 1, The Last of Us. Naughty Dog has become one of the most respected developers in the industry. Uncharted, Jak and Daxter, when Naughty Dog releases a game, you know it's going to be of a certain quality. 2013's The Last of Us is the best game Naughty Dog has ever made. It's the best game on the PlayStation 3. I can keep going on and on with the accolades, but we'll leave it there. The story of Joel and Ellie in the zombie apocalypse was an emotional roller coaster ride, and the development of the two characters was done perfectly. The game's story just built and built to a fitting climax. Added to the story was the atmosphere Last of Us created. With its excellent visuals and amazing soundtrack, it all just blended to create one of the best settings in a video game you will ever see. Last of Us was initially released on the PlayStation 3 as an exclusive, but now you can also play the game on the PS4 in the form of a remaster that runs at 1080p and 60 FPS. Either way, it's a terrific game and not only the best exclusive on the PlayStation 3, but one of the best games ever. So that wraps up our countdown of the top 10 PS3 exclusives of all time. Do you agree with our list? Do you disagree? Think games should be ranked higher or lower? Let us know in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching and goodbye.